Discover the incredible truth. My daughter sold our $3 million ranch and surprised me with $16,000. Jack stood at the edge of the property, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky a fiery orange. This ranch wasn't just a piece of land, it was his father's legacy, a sprawling expanse of memories pressed into each blade of grass and worn fence post. Yet, as he surveyed the dry fields, the reality hit him like a weight on his chest. Drought and rising costs were driving them to the brink. He'd spent his whole life here, the dirt beneath his calloused hands telling stories of toil and love. What would it mean to let go, to sell everything his father built? A sense of desperation clawed at him, the financial strain tightening like a noose. Jack had always prided himself on being the dependable one, the steady rock for his daughters Emma and Lily. But with every day that passed, the fear of failure loomed larger. If he failed to hold on to this ranch, what remained? His daughter's future? The thought churned in his gut. Would they understand, or would he be letting down generations of his family, breaking a bond that was forged in sweat and sacrifice? As he grit his teeth against the mounting pressure, thoughts of Emma flitted through his mind. She was 16, far wiser than her years suggested, yet always escaped his grasp. He hesitated. Would she even want to stay here if things fell apart? He hesitated. He feared the image of their home retreating into memory, becoming nothing more than a haunting photograph. Just before the weight of despair could drag him under, a knock on the door sliced through his reverie. An old friend, a fellow rancher, was back with an enticing offer. "Jack, it's time to talk." Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack's gut twisted. The offers flowed, but so did memories. The sound of his father's laughter, sunny days spent riding across the fields, and the echo of his late mum's voice reminding him of their family's roots. They were being tested. He felt the pressure rise, the anguish flooding his chest. He was torn between the offer and the whispering call of tradition. But then it hit him in a staggering revelation. What would he teach his daughters if he surrendered? Resilience or surrender? Just when he thought he grasped what needed to be done, the weight shifted again. Emma's recent silence weighed heavily, and he realized she had been keeping secrets. He could feel it welling, a mixture of pride and betrayal. In that moment, a deep pain surged through him, igniting a fierce sense of protectiveness. What had she done? The trust between them was hanging by a thread. He stared at the crisped bills he suddenly found himself holding, the $16,000 that embodied her sacrifice and love. How could he reconcile that with the notion of loss? As Jack struggled with the implications, the decision to secure their future warred against losing everything he had built. Just then, another knock echoed in his mind, pulling him back, further into the chaos of conflicting emotions. Standing on the precipice of change, Jack's heart raced between two worlds: the dusty ranch, the life of tradition, and the unknown that Emma crafted, one driven from love. With each breath, he questioned whether he would choose to cling to a crumbling legacy or embrace an uncertain future. The air felt electric with unresolved tension, the ghost of an inheritance looming tall over the mounting chaos within his own heart. Jack stepped inside the house, the weight of uncertainty swelling in his chest. The scent of aged wood mingled with the memories that clung to the walls. Each picture frame hung heavy with shared laughter and quiet tears, yet now felt like the shackles of tradition, binding him to an unyielding past. He needed to make a choice, but not just for himself. He had to consider Emma and Lily. If he faltered, what message would that send? He clenched his fists, hating the feeling of powerlessness. Growing up, his father had taught him to stand firm against storms, but this tempest felt different. It wasn't just about the ranch. It was about the kind of father he wanted to be. Was it better to sacrifice everything for the sake of a legacy, or to carve out a new path that might protect his daughter's futures? Sinking into the creaky old chair in the living room, Jack felt the fabric, worn yet familiar, brush against his skin, a grounding reminder of simpler times. Emotion surged through him. He couldn't shake the image of Emma, the sharp glint in her eyes, her determination despite her youth. At that moment, he realized she wasn't merely a child. She was developing into a young woman, one who was willing to take risks for the sake of love and family. That implicit lesson, however, made him question his own choices loudly. The soft patter of footsteps emerged from the hallway. Lily appeared, worry etched into her brow as she looked around the room. Something was amiss. Jack's heart twisted. His daughters were watching him, assessing his every move as he grappled with a reality he wished was different. "Dad, can we talk?" Lily's voice was small, but it carried the weight of their shared uncertainty. He gestured for her to sit next to him. "What's on your mind?" "I know you're stressed about the ranch," she began, looking down at her hands. "But I'm worried about you, too." Jack swallowed hard, feeling exposed. How could he admit that he felt like a failure? Instead, he focused on the strength he could impart. Sometimes letting go can be harder than holding on. Do you think I'm doing the right thing by trying to keep it? Lily tilted her head, her youthful wisdom shining through. But is it really ours anymore? If we're not happy here, what's the point? Her words struck a chord that reverberated deep within him. He had held on to the idea of the ranch as an integral part of their identity, but perhaps it was time to evolve that identity. "You're right," he finally admitted, feeling the first tingle of release. "But it's hard for me to see past the memories." "Maybe it's time to start new ones," she suggested softly. "I love this place, but I also want to be happy. We have to be together no matter where we go." The realization flooded over him. This was not merely a fight for land. It was a fight for family, for connection. Jack felt emboldened, but still terrified of the uncertainty ahead. His daughters were showing him paths he hadn't considered, possibilities that could transform their futures in ways he couldn't yet imagine. Feeling a surge of inspiration, he stood and paced the room, weighing his options. They had to talk to Emma, hash through the choices one last time. This was about more than just economics. It was about forging ahead united as a family. But as he prepared to reach out to Emma, the weight of doubt loomed once more. Was he leading them into an abyss of uncertainty, or was he handing them the keys to their own destinies? The next step felt monumental, and the echoes of the past were loud, but change was beckoning. Yet another knock jolted him from his thoughts, a reminder that fate was still in motion, waiting to bring clarity or chaos to their situation once again. With every movement, he felt closer to a breaking point. What if the next arrival would change everything forever? The heavy thud of the door echoed through the silence of the living room, its tremor resonating in Jack's chest. He instinctively held his breath, unsure of whether the arrival at their doorstep signified hope or an additional layer of complication to an already muddled situation. Each second stretched, his mind racing through potential scenarios as he tried to grapple with his growing apprehension. "Should I get it?" Lily's voice, a careful whisper, pulled him back. That moment wasn't just about the ranch. It felt like a test of their burgeoning resolve as a family. "Yeah, go ahead," he urged, his voice quiet, tinged with both curiosity and dread. Lily tiptoed towards the entrance, her small frame revealing a remarkable courage that reminded him how important it was to embody the strength he wanted to instill in her. As she opened the door, Jack adjusted his posture, anticipating the unexpected. Standing in the doorway was Emma, an expression of determination etched on her face. "We need to talk, Jack." Her tone was firm, brokering no argument. The air thickened with shared tension as she stepped over the threshold, her presence bringing clarity to the swirling chaos inside him. It reminded him that this struggle wasn't solely about nostalgia. It was about confronting the future they would create together. "I was just about to reach out," Jack stammered, throwing a sideways glance at Lily, who stood wide-eyed, processing the gravity of the situation. This was not merely a conversation, it was a reckoning. Emma wasted no time, her voice rising to match the intensity of the moment. "I've been crunching the numbers, and I think we need to consider different options for the ranch. It doesn't hold the same promise anymore." Her eyes were unyielding, intentions clear. He swallowed hard, battling the lurch of emotions as he tried to speak through his frustration. "But this place has been in my family for generations. How can I just let that go?" Emma crossed her arms, leaning into the dialogue with passion. "By letting go, you're not erasing memories, you're making room for new ones. You and the girls deserve happiness, Jack. We've got to be realistic." Jack felt his chest tighten, the familiar pull of resistance surging within him. He steeled himself, recalling Lily's words about happiness. The very thought of losing the ranch equated to losing a part of their identity. Yet, standing before him was a woman who shared his dreams but also challenged his beliefs. It was a juxtaposition he hadn't anticipated. "What do you suggest?" he managed, the question hanging like a weight between them. Emma took a step closer, her voice softer but no less resolute. "Let's explore selling, reinvest the money into something that aligns with our values, something that could set the girls up for real opportunities." As he considered her words, he felt something deep within him stir, a glimmer of excitement mingled with fear. This could be the shift he needed, but it required facing the discomfort of invisible chains binding him to outdated beliefs. "Do you really think we could find something?" The words tumbled out, revealing a flicker of possibility he hadn't been ready to admit. "I believe it if you do," Emma replied, her determination unwavering. "But it needs to start with you claiming your future, Jack. You can't let fear dictate your path any longer." With those words, the realization washed over him. It wasn't just about the ranch anymore. It was about empowerment, redefining legacy beyond property lines. No longer would he cling to what was familiar out of fear of abandoning the past. "All right, let's explore this," Jack declared, a newfound resolve coursing through him. As they began strategizing next steps, he could sense the undercurrent of transformation not only within himself, but also in the space around them. Each transition echoed the possibilities of freedom rather than confinement. But just as they began to outline their plan, the phone buzzed on the countertop. Jack's heart raced at the unexpected interruption, the digits promising more news about their future, yet also a hint of foreboding. The moment had arrived where choices brimming with potential loomed large, yet uncertainty threaded through every decision. Would this decision potentially lead them to what they truly sought? He picked up the phone, glancing at the screen, a chill creeping into his spine. The name flashed before him. Whoever this was might just change everything once again. Jack's fingers trembled as he stared at the screen, his mind racing. The name illuminated before him, Megan, an old family friend who used to hold the reins of the local real estate market. They hadn't communicated in years, but her presence felt like a blast from a broken past, one he didn't fully wish to confront. With a deep breath, he pressed answer. "Megan?" "Jack!" Her voice was buoyant yet laced with urgency. "You'll want to sit down for this." His pulse quickened, a premonition of turmoil washing over him. "What is it?" "I have an opportunity that I think you'll be very interested in," she continued, unconsciously pushing him deeper into the unknown. "A buyer has approached me about your ranch. A fair offer, quite tempting, but there's more." He felt the walls of his stability tremble, but still a part of him yearned to leap. "I'm listening." For the right buyer, there's potential to sell not just the land, but leverage its value to fund something bigger, something beyond barbed wire and pastures. Her tone shifted, persuasive, enticing. Imagine investing those funds into a business venture that could truly benefit your family. Jack's heart raced, half in excitement, half in dread. The idea danced tantalizingly close to his earlier thoughts with Emma, yet here it was thrust upon him, intensifying the pressure. "I need to discuss this with Emma," he replied, trying to anchor the chaos swirling within. "Of course, but don't take too long. Good opportunities can slip away as quickly as they come." With a firm goodbye, he hung up, the weight of her words pressing down on him. The clock on the wall ticked rhythmically, stood as an unwelcome reminder that time was not his ally. He turned to see Emma deep in thought, her hands absently tracing the edge of the table. The revelation hadn't arrived just for him. They were entwined in this narrative together. "We need to talk," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. Emma looked up, her expression shifting from contemplation to intent focus. "What did she say?" "The ranch. There's an offer coming for it. Megan says it's a good one." Her eyes widened slightly, a flicker of curiosity dancing across her features. And she suggested we could sell it to invest in something bigger and better, something that would really benefit the girls. Silence enveloped the room as Jack processed the implications of their new reality. What had felt impossible a day ago now bubbled with potential. Emma leaned back, assessing him with a blend of skepticism and hope. "What do you think? Are you ready to let the land go?" The question hung heavy above them, like a tightrope they both were asked to walk. Lily, sensing the gravity, quietly slipped away to her room, leaving them in a palpable atmosphere. "I think I have to be," Jack breathed out. "It's not just about holding on anymore. I want to create so much more for our girls, possibilities we can't even imagine yet." Emma studied him, and he could almost see her mind racing through every angle, every chance they could take. "This could change everything, Jack. Can we truly go through with it?" "Our past doesn't have to define us. It can just be a chapter in our story," he asserted, recalling Emma's earlier words. His chest broadened with affirmation. "But we have to act, one way or another." Empowerment surged through him, an exhilarating realization. He'd never truly considered life beyond his father's expectations, nor had he envisioned a future liberated from the ranch's formidable hold. Would they have the courage to step into this uncertain yet brave frontier? Just as doubt began to stir again, the phone pinged, a message flashing across the screen from Megan. Jack's heart raced as anxiety met anticipation. A photo accompanied her text, a scenic overview of a thriving vineyard, its rows stretching towards a golden horizon. Control slipped away as he read her words. "Think about the legacy you can create with this. Let's explore together." A new path sprawled before him, ripe with opportunity, but fraught with daunting decisions. In that moment, he understood this choice was merely the beginning of a longer journey. But as the enormity of the moment settled in, Jack couldn't escape the gnawing question at the back of his mind. Would they find their way forward, or would the call of the familiar prove too strong to resist? Jack stood frozen, the phone's glow piercing through the fading light of the day. The vineyard in Megan's photo, lush and inviting, spoke of a life that seemed within reach, yet utterly foreign. It lingered like a whisper in his thoughts, urging him to ponder the possibilities of what could be. As Emma shifted beside him, her presence snapped him back. "What are you thinking?" she asked, searching his face for the turmoil swirling behind his eyes. Jack took a steadying breath, deciding to share more of his internal dialogue. "It's not just about saying goodbye to the ranch, Emma. It's about what we're saying yes to. It's the chance to redefine everything we have for our girls." Her brow furrowed, balancing between caution and curiosity. "But what do we even know about running a vineyard, or a business for that matter?" He started pacing, feeling the weight of her hesitation thread through him. His veins. We know how to work hard, how to face challenges. Remember when we decided to start the horse training program? We were scared then too, but we made it work. Emma nodded, recalling their shared struggles from years past. Countless late nights refining their skills. Every triumphant moment earned through sweat and determination. But a vineyard? That's a huge leap, she replied, encasing her doubts in a soft voice. It's not just the knowledge, it's the risk. Jack halted, turning to her, his voice dropping to a whisper. Isn't that what this is all about? Risk? Growth occurs in moments of uncertainty. If we hold on to the past and let fear dictate our choices, we'll never see what we could become. Emma sighed, folding her arms. So, what's our next step? Meeting Megan again and asking all the hard questions, he declared, a new resolve coursing through him. We need to understand this opportunity in detail. I can't let the fear of the unknown paralyze us. This could be our chance to sculpt a future for the girls that's more than what we've imagined. At that moment, he realized he wasn't just promoting an idea. He was setting a foundation for himself as a leader in his family, a catalyst for change. The exhilaration of embracing an uncertain future ignited something deep within him. All right, Emma acquiesced, the gears of her mind visibly shifting. I'll support you, Jack, but we have to come prepared. Questions, plans, everything. Absolutely. If we're going to step into this, we must do it smartly. Their mutual focus shifted into gear, and within minutes, Jack was jotting down questions, planning their approach. They debated business strategies while organizing logistics in their minds, a tangible sense of partnership emerging from the chaos that had settled in before. As they worked side by side, Jack felt his self-doubt begin to dissipate. Each question posed brought clarity. Each note taken lit a flicker of potential pathways ahead. He was stepping into a version of himself he had long suppressed, and it felt liberating. By the end of their planning session, a familiar spark of excitement replaced his earlier hesitations. Let's schedule a meeting with Megan. The sooner we explore, the sooner we can decide. He paused, worry creeping back in. But are we ready to let the ranch go? To truly say goodbye? Emma studied him for a beat, her eyes narrowing with determination. We can't let fear keep us tethered. This is bigger than us. We owe it to the girls to try. As they finalized their plans, Jack felt the winds of opportunity shifting direction, reminding him that exploring new horizons meant facing risks, and it was worth it. But as he closed the notebook, a new fear gnawed at him. Could their dreams endure the harsh reality of business? And, buried beneath the excitement, was a truth he couldn't ignore. What if their new venture threatened to draw the lines of their family tighter rather than wider? Would they expand them in the way they hoped? Just as that thought settled, the phone buzzed again, another message from Megan lighting the screen. The text appeared, "Ready to take the next step? I think you'll find this fascinating." The tension surged anew, and Jack braced himself for the possibilities that lay ahead, uncertainty stretching like an elastic band. Would this venture unite them as they hoped, or unravel them entirely? Jack awoke the next morning with a renewed sense of purpose swirling inside him. The sun filtered through the window, illuminating the room as if signaling the dawn of a pivotal moment in his life. His heart raced as he recalled the plan for the day, a meeting with Megan, the key to unlocking their potential future. He quickly dressed, his mind racing with questions he wanted to ask. Was the vineyard really feasible? What kind of investment lay ahead? Jack felt the weight of his family's future resting heavily on his shoulders, but oddly, that responsibility felt empowering. Each step he took towards the kitchen felt like a step towards reclaiming control over a future he feared might slip away. Emma was already there, her brow furrowed as she studied a document spread out on the table. She looked up and greeted him with a tight smile, the concern in her eyes evident. "You ready for this?" Ready as I'll ever be, he replied, forcing a grin. He didn't want to admit the depths of his uncertainty. Instead, he focused on building a collective resolve between them. They exchanged thoughts on their list of questions, each moment filled with the electricity of possibility. Their daughters would be watching this unfold, he thought. Would they see their parents embrace fear or chase after dreams? The stakes felt monumentally high. "What if we take a different angle?" Emma suggested. "Instead of just discussing the numbers and the logistics, let's see how Megan feels about her journey. What if there's something more we could learn beyond the business side?" Jack paused, considering her words. That insight struck a chord. While he had been focused on the mechanics of the business, perhaps understanding Megan's personal story would offer insights they couldn't access through spreadsheets and financial predictions alone. A surge of confidence swelled within him as he realized he didn't need to know it all. They could navigate this journey together, and their openness could invite new knowledge and connections. As they set off towards the meeting, a mix of anticipation and anxiety churned inside him. With each mile, he mentally prepared for the confrontation of doubts lingering in his mind, the uncertainty if they truly had what it took to succeed in an industry they barely understood. When they arrived at the Vineyard, the sprawling landscape met them like an old friend. Megan greeted them warmly, her enthusiasm infectious. They were ushered into her office, a neat space adorned with rustic decor which spoke of tradition fused with ambition. "So, what excites you?" "What most about the Vineyard?" she asked, leaning forward, genuinely curious. Jack hesitated for a heartbeat. Instead of spewing statistics or rehearsed business jargon, he took a breath. "We're excited about the potential to create something lasting for our daughters. We want them to grow up surrounded by more than just a ranch's walls, where they can explore, thrive, and learn." Megan nodded, the glimmer in her eyes suggesting she understood far deeper than they had anticipated. "Exactly. A vineyard is not just about wine. It's about legacy, community, and embracing challenges together. You have to be ready to face the storms, but the rewards can be profound." Jack felt a jolt of realization wash over him. It was a raw truth that paralleled his life. Owning a vineyard would require resilience, just as they had shown through the years on their ranch. As they dove deeper into the conversation, ideas flowed, questions were answered, and each revelation brought newfound clarity. Jack's fears began to dissolve, replaced by an invigorating blend of excitement and commitment. But as they discussed the mounting realities of financial commitments and business intricacies, doubt began to creep back, casting a shadow over the bright vision he had nurtured. Was he truly equipped for this? Would his family be prepared for the sacrifices attached to chasing this dream? The discussion reached a tipping point when Megan revealed the need for a substantial initial investment. Jack's heart raced. The numbers were large, the risk palpable. "Are we really prepared to go down this path?" he questioned, glancing at Emma for reassurance. Megan nodded, then leaned back in her chair, her gaze steady. "The real question isn't if you're ready for this venture. It's whether you're ready for the journey it will take you on. Growth rarely comes from comfort." Those words resonated with Jack like a melody, awakening buried resolve. He was on the verge of a transformative decision, one that would shape his identity as a partner, a father, and a leader. It was no longer just about the vineyard. It was about the essence of who he was becoming. As they wrapped up the meeting, Jack felt a promise building within him, a commitment to face the challenges head-on. Yet amid this surge of determination, as they walked towards their car, a familiar fear whispered back. What if he faltered? What if his pursuit for growth came at an unexpected cost? He pushed those thoughts aside, determined not to let fear dictate his choices any longer. But when he grabbed his phone and glimpsed another message from Megan, his heart dropped. "There's something you need to know before moving ahead." The shifting gears of his heart brought him to the edge of resolution or retreat. What awaited them beyond this threshold? Jack stared at his phone, the words blurring as a rush of conflicting emotions surged within him. "There's something you need to know before moving ahead." The statement echoed in his head like an ominous bell. The prospect of an unknown complication in their budding venture sent his heart into a dizzying spiral of anxiety. He pocketed the phone quickly, hoping the movement would dispel the weight of dread tightening around his chest. Emma opened the car door for him, her expression a cocktail of concern and excitement. He could feel her anticipation, yet he couldn't find the words to share his derailing thoughts. Instead, he took a seat and forced a smile. "Everything okay?" she asked, glancing at him sideways. "Yeah, just thinking about what Megan said." Jack tried to steer the conversation back to the positives. "She really believes in the idea of creating a legacy." His voice trailed off, the vague thrill he had felt earlier dissipating. He was grasping now for the growing sense of urgency residing in the depths of his mind. As they drove home, Jack's thoughts drifted to the vineyard and its promise. It wasn't merely a business endeavor, it was a chance for growth, both for him and their family. But a voice in his head began infusing doubt into the image of opportunity. What if the reality of operating the vineyard was more complex than he could handle? Could immersing himself into this world change his family's dynamics forever? Returning home did little to calm the internal chaos. Once inside, he abruptly excused himself to the study. Papers littered the desk, but Jack's wandering gaze soon found a framed photograph of their ranch, two smiling faces, his daughters, their unquenchable spirit lighting the room. As he traced the edges of the frame with trembling fingers, it became evident to him. This decision transcended finances. It was about cultivating hope. He sank into the chair, overwhelmed by the crossroads stretching before him. Armed with ambition, yet paralyzed by the fear of the unknown, he opened his laptop and began searching for information about vineyard management. The glow of the screen illuminated his face as he clicked link after link, the reality of his ignorance washing over him. He began to document resources he would need to delve into: books on viticulture, online courses, networking opportunities. In that moment, Jack experienced a pang of realization, akin to the one from earlier that day, but this one bore a nuance of clarity. Any venture that promised growth demanded preparation, a commitment to learning through failures and triumphs alike. He would embrace this not with trepidation, but with an eagerness to change. As he scoured the details, a realization struck him, igniting a flicker within. The path would not simply be about establishing a vineyard. It was about transforming himself into the leader his family needed. He would not be merely a caretaker of land. He would nurture growth within himself, too. However, amid this newfound determination, the memory of Megan's cliffhanger message loomed heavily in his mind. What hidden truths lay wrapped in her statement? A blaring intuition warned him that this twist could impact not just his dream, but also their family's plans, potentially altering everything he thought he understood about this venture. With renewed resolve, he formatted a plan in his mind. He would approach Megan first thing tomorrow, prepared. He would ask her directly about the implications of her message. The confrontation felt necessary. Ignorance wasn't just bliss, it was a risk in business. As he closed the laptop, Jack's heart surged with the dual thrill of fear and exuberance. He stood at a threshold where acceptance of change began with one decisive question. He was ready to confront Megan, ready to learn the truth, not just for himself, but for the family that depended on him. The next day would require courage in the face of vulnerability, but something within him settled. He was no longer allowing fear to dictate his purpose. He was inviting discovery into his life. But as Jack prepared for bed, the chill of doubt crept back, the specter of uncertainty whispering darker possibilities. What if the truth was not what he expected? What if Megan's revelation tilted the delicate balance of their plans in unforeseen directions? He closed his eyes, bracing himself for what lay ahead. Little did Jack know, the next morning would unravel a thread of truth that could unravel much more than just a business proposal. Jack woke before dawn. The shadows in his bedroom weighed heavy with anticipation and anxiety. He lay in bed, staring at the dim ceiling and replaying his intention to confront Megan about the enigmatic message. The chill of morning air seeped through the window, amplifying the prickling uncertainty coursing through him. Today was not just another day, it was a crossroads, a moment of potential revelation. As he sipped coffee in the kitchen, its warmth did little to thaw the cold lump in his stomach. Emma moved around him effortlessly, humming a tune as she prepared breakfast. She seemed blissfully unaware of the turmoil he faced, a reflection of their contrasting states of mind. He appreciated her optimism, but if only she knew the secrets pressing against him. "Jack?" Her voice pulled him from his thoughts. "You're unusually quiet this morning. Is everything all right?" He forced a smile, yet the words lodged in his throat. How could he convey the weight of his internal battle? Instead, he nodded and attempted small talk, but every passing moment only intensified his urgency to seek clarity. "Maybe I'll head to the office early today," he said, feigning eagerness. Her eyes lit up at the thought of his diligence, and he felt a pang of guilt over his deception. Once in the car, as he navigated the familiar roads toward the office, moments passed like hours. Each stoplight felt like an eternity, amplifying his thoughts. Would Megan's revelation empower him or draw the curtains on the dreams he meticulously crafted? He willed himself to stay focused on the road, yet the possibilities of her words danced mockingly in his mind. Reaching the office, Jack took a moment to center himself before entering. The nervous energy swirling within urged him forward, demanding resolution. Inside, he eyed his desk cluttered with documents, but his gaze fell to his phone, waiting, still echoing Megan's words. The longer he hesitated, the more tangible his fear became. After a few moments of contemplation, he glanced at the clock. It was nearly time for Megan to arrive. He paced the floor, mentally rehearsing what he would say. The professional facade felt increasingly fragile, yet the vulnerability it required was necessary for any hope of progression. When she walked in, her expression was unreadable, and he could feel the air thicken between them. She greeted him with a warm smile, but Jack sensed an underlying current of something else. Perhaps it was guilt or anticipation. "Megan, can we talk?" he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "Of course, Jack. Everything all right?" There was sincerity in her tone that made his heart race. He motioned for her to follow him into the conference room, where the stark walls felt like a pressure cooker of truths. After closing the door, he took a deep breath. "About your message yesterday, the part about needing to know something before moving ahead, what exactly did you mean?" Her eyes flickered with emotion, a momentary hesitation that sent his pulse racing. "Jack, it's about the vineyard, and this might change things. The contract with the seller, the reason we got such an opportunity." Tension slid into the room, wrapping around them tightly. "What is it?" His voice was eager, tinged with worry. "The property is currently involved in a legal dispute," she admitted, her hands fidgeting on the table. "There's a lien against it. If we proceed without addressing it, we could lose everything." Jack's heart sank. "You knew about this?" "I did, but I thought we had time to figure it out. I didn't want to derail the excitement." The weight of her words sank in, and he felt his world tilt. His thoughts spiraled as he fought to control the tumult of emotions surging within. He had envisioned this venture as a foundation for the future, only to encounter an obstacle that could obliterate it all. Questions invaded his mind. How could they navigate a legal maze? Was this warning a sign to retreat? "But Megan, this is a game changer. We need to assess our options," he exclaimed, the resolve in his voice mixing with a burgeoning desperation. "We can work on it together. I'll help you find a lawyer who specializes in real estate disputes," she responded, her voice steady despite the storm swirling around them. A new determination simmered within him. This wasn't just about overcoming an obstacle. It was about protecting his family's dream and cementing his role as a leader. They would rise from this, but he needed to channel that resolve into action without losing sight of what truly mattered. As they delved into possible strategies, Jack felt a clarity settling around him, a lesson ingrained by the very chaos he feared. But even as the discussion progressed, a gnawing doubt lingered. They could be on the precipice of an entirely new challenge. Who had placed the lien? Were there other surprises waiting in the wings, ready to topple his newfound resolve? His mind raced, fueled by an urgency far beyond the realm of business. This was personal. It was a defining moment. And in the chaotic future that loomed, Jack felt the weight of everything he stood to lose. "Can I trust you to guide us through this?" he asked, the vulnerability in his voice pushing through the otherwise frayed facade. Megan paused, her expression serious, and for a heartbeat the air crackled with unspoken truths. "Absolutely, but this is just the beginning." With that, the door unlocked not just issues, but an unveiling of their partnership's core strength. Jack's new chapter loomed ahead, a reveal not just about the vineyard, but about himself and all that lay in the balance. He needed to face the unknown head-on. But as shadows danced around him, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was lurking right around the corner. What would emerge from the confrontation with those hidden adversaries that waited just out of sight? As the reality of their situation settled over him like a dense fog, Jack felt an acute awareness of time slipping through his fingers. He watched Megan's expressions as they strategized, but the details of their conversation became muted by the increasing tempo of his thoughts. They were professionals facing a daunting challenge, but beneath that veneer lay layers of personal stakes and awakening fears. Fears that had quietly crept into his consciousness and were now demanding his full attention. "Okay, so what are the next steps?" he asked, wresting control back from the anxious whirlwind swirling in his mind. Megan laid out a plan, but each suggestion she made felt like fingers pricking at his insecurities, reminding him of his inexperience in navigating such a treacherous legal landscape. "We need to contact a real estate attorney today," she said, "one with a track record in resolving similar issues. Tomorrow will be too late if the seller has any other offers." He nodded, grappling with the growing tension between his rising hope and the mounting dread. Every delay, every misstep could cost them the vineyard. Jack had prided himself on being a meticulous planner, yet here he was, blindsided. What if we can't fix it? The question slipped out before he had a chance to restrain it. Megan's gaze locked onto his, and he could see she wasn't just deflecting his concern. She was weighing the risks against the potential outcome. "Then we adjust our strategy. This doesn't have to be the end. It can be a lesson in resilience. We'll figure this out, I promise." Her confidence sparked something inside him, a flicker of a fire that had been dimmed by doubt. Still, doubt lurked like a shadow, ever present. Deep breath, he told himself. "All right," he found the words. "Let's move forward, but we also need to understand who we're dealing with. If there's a lien, there's a reason. Who's behind this?" "Potentially," Megan's brow furrowed in contemplation, "the previous owners might have more to say than we realize. We could contact them too." Jack felt a jolt. His gut instinct kicked in. It wasn't enough to just fight back. They needed to uncover the truth hidden in the details. "We should investigate the history of the property, not just the lien. What led to this dispute? What were the previous owners up against?" As Megan nodded, the words took root in his mind. This was not merely a business transaction turned sour. It was an opportunity to delve deeper into the real nature of their venture and the people within it. In the face of adversity, Jack began to see the potential for growth, for understanding, and for forging ahead with renewed purpose. They spent the next few hours compiling a list of questions and potential contacts, sending cold emails by the dozen to real estate lawyers and anyone who might illuminate the murky waters ahead. Jack felt a sense of momentum that began to lift him from the anxiety of the morning. He was no longer just a man caught in a web of uncertainty. He was a collaborator, an investigator, a leader of his family's hopeful future. Still, as the evening approached, a nagging thought pierced his newfound resolve. He could feel the disconnect in his relationship with Emma growing, punctuated by the secrets surrounding the vineyard. He had left her in the dark about the negotiation stakes, the risks. Every second spent in panic about the vineyard meant another moment he was drifting away from his daughter. Shouldn't he be lifting her spirits? What would it mean for her to learn about this potential fallout? The guilt gnawed at his conscience. He glanced at the clock and realized he was late for dinner. A rush of conflicting emotions lurked beneath the surface, the urgency of the business and the longing to connect with his daughter. "Let's finish this tomorrow," Jack said, standing up. "I need to figure things out at home first. Family matters." Megan nodded, but there was an acknowledgement in her eyes that suggested she understood more of his turmoil than he cared to admit. As Jack stepped out of the office and into the dim light of the setting sun, he battled with a sense of impending confrontation. The shadows trailing behind him were not just from the nearing dusk, but carried the weight of his past decisions. What would Emma think of the man he was becoming? Would she still believe in the dream they had shared, or feel abandoned by his ambition? With uncertainty shadowing his thoughts, Jack knew he was on the brink of revealing yet another truth, one that could reshape his identity as a father. He took a deep breath before gripping the steering wheel tightly. He was prepared to face not only the adversities looming over their potential investment, but the realization that each step forward in his career might be pulling him away from the very family he sought to protect. Tonight, he would prioritize family over ambition, but could he reconcile his quest for success with his role as a father? As his car navigated the streets back home, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the most revealing moments were yet to come. What awaited him beyond the front door? Would he still find the essence of his dreams in the shadows of impending truths? Jack arrived home, his heart thudding against his chest. As he walked through the door, the familiar scent of dinner wafted through the air, laced with the tantalizing aromas of spices Emma had perfected over the years. He took a moment to ground himself, needing to separate the frenetic energy of the day from the warmth of his family. Soon, he would share everything, the doubts, the potential fallout of their decisions, and how the future they dreamed of hung precariously in the balance. "Dad!" Lily's voice cut through his thoughts, her excitement palpable as she rushed towards him. "You're just in time. We've been waiting." The bright smile on her face, unaffected by the complexities that weighed on him, ignited a flicker of guilt. Here was a pure moment of joy he feared he might soon disrupt. "Hey, sweetheart," he replied, forcing a smile despite the tumult swirling within. As the family gathered around the table, Jack watched his daughters exchange glances filled with camaraderie and contentment. They cracked jokes, shared light-hearted stories, and for a moment the noise of the world melted away. But as he listened, the uncertainty loomed just beneath the surface. This happiness felt precarious against the backdrop of what was to come. "Dad, do you have a few minutes to talk later?" Emma asked, her tone casual yet full of unspoken weight. "Of course," he replied, swallowing hard. "There's something I need to discuss with both of you, too." As he spoke, Jack felt a sense of urgency ignite inside him. He had to establish a foundation of honesty before the gravity of his news drew a line of division. He turned to Lily, who was still animatedly talking about a project she'd been working on. It was a reminder of innocence, a time when dreams were bright and untainted. "Lily, I'm proud of you, you know that. Whatever happens, you two are my top priority." With dinner wrapping up, Jack felt the mental curtain rising before his impending reveal. He gathered Emma and Lily into the living room as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting an amber glow across the room. Taking a breath, he started slow. "There's something important that you both need to know about the ranch." He glanced from one daughter to the other, weighing their expressions. "I spoke with Megan today, and we discovered a lie against the property." Emma's brow furrowed, while Lily looked uneasy. "A lien?" Emma asked, her voice steady but edged with concern. "Yeah, it makes everything more complicated. We could lose the opportunity for the vineyard if we don't address it," he confessed, feeling the tension rising. The room went quiet, the weight of the revelation settling over them. Jack could see the gears in Emma's mind turning. This wasn't just about land. It was about the future, their dreams woven into a fabric now threatening to unravel. "Do you still think it's worth pursuing?" Emma asked, her eyes searching his. Jack took a moment to formulate his words, feeling the gravity of his choices. "I believe in what we can build. I want to give you both more than what this ranch can provide. I want to reforge our identity as a family around new opportunities. But it's going to take work. Are we willing to chance it together?" He looked at them, his heart racing. Jack's resolve felt stiffer now. Upheaval beckoned him, demanding to be faced head-on. Emma shifted forward, her expression transitioning into something resolute. "If we want to pursue this, we'll need a plan, a real plan." "That's all I've ever wanted," Jack replied, relief washing over him. "To build something together where we can grow alongside each other." Lily perked up, her youthful enthusiasm shining through. "Then let's figure it out. If we're a team, we can handle anything." Jack smiled, a solid resolve settling deep within him. "That's the spirit. Let's start looking into this, Lean. Find ways to negotiate. If Megan can help, then we'll talk to her about it." The trio was no longer just watching the world shift around them. They were ready to act, ready to embrace the challenges of the unknown future. Jack realized he had begun to cultivate not just a business venture, but an approach to life steeped in courage and unity. That night, as his daughters scurried off to bed, Jack felt a sense of solid confidence infusing him. He had shared his fears, and they had surfaced not as liabilities, but as stepping stones. Emma's support and Lily's unabashed dedication became the heartbeat of their new journey together. His thoughts raced with strategies. Tomorrow, they would dig deeper into the legal ramifications, learn about the vineyard business, and confront potential adversities as allies. Jack had accomplished something significant. He had opened the door to honest dialogue, showcasing vulnerability while standing firm in his commitment to forge a new legacy. He sank into the couch, pride swelling within him. This was more than just about the vineyard or eccentric changes. It was about shaping a narrative that reflected growth, an unwavering promise to provide his daughters the power of reclamation over traditions that no longer served them. And in that moment, he understood that true legacy was not just bound to land. It was the bond shared, the lessons imparted, and above all, the dreams they would pursue. Change had begun. The drive to transform fear into progress ignited a passion for change, one that would lead them toward mastery of their destinies together. This was just the beginning of something wonderful. Jack's path was illuminated not by material possessions, but by the shared determination to embrace life's unpredictable ride as a family. And that, indeed, was a legacy worth fighting for. Now, as a call to action for you, the readers, if you found inspiration in this journey of transformation and resilience, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like to boost our reach. And don't wait even one more second to comment your thoughts and theories about this monumental ending. Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this story of personal overcoming. Together, let's cultivate a community that celebrates growth, courage, and the fight for dreams.